All right, so we're starting with chapter 6, mid-level letterhead grader project today. And we're going to be concentrating on steps 5 through 7. So I'm going to assume that you completed steps 1 through 4. And before we begin, I just want to remind you that in step number 4, the last part of the step asks you to save the document. All right, so we're going into step 5, where we are asked to compare this letterhead with another version of the same letterhead. So we're looking at a really neat feature of Word, which is the compare and combine feature. The compare feature allows you, again, to see, based on two different versions, what has changed. Later on, you'll learn about the combine feature, where you're going to be able to not only see what has changed, but also to make decisions as to what parts of the changes you want to keep, what parts you want to reject, right? Very similar to tracking changes. Okay, so again, we're looking at step number 5, where you're asked to compare this mid-level letterhead original document and compare that to a letterhead combine revised document. So we're going to start off the compare with clicking on the review tab. So that makes sense. We're going to review the two different versions, and then we're going to go over to our compare group. And here in the compare group, we've got both the compare and the combine options. For this chapter 6 mid-level project, we're going to compare the two versions of the document, again, to see where changes lay. So it says to use the mid-level letterhead chapter 6 as the original document. So if the document was already open, you could just browse right through the already open documents. If you're not sure where the document is, you can always use the File Explorer, which we'll do today. We're going to look in our files here, and I choose my mid-level letterhead chapter 6 file as my original document. And then for my revised document, I'm going to, again, browse as well. And this one's going to be the letterhead combined. So it's important to exercise your file management skills here to always know where your files are at, right? It makes this portion of the project so much easier. All right, I'm going to go ahead and click on open here. And when I do that, on the right-hand side, you'll notice that the revised document also opened up the label changes with field here, and you could always go in and make a change to that label changes with. And this is designed to help you to understand who has made that second revision, or who authored that revised document, or who helped with that revised document. It's just one way of organizing your documents, right, by identifying who has made the changes. The next part of step 5, which is still really the first part, asks you to show the changes between the two documents in the original document. That means that in this original document that I've got open before me, I want to see where the changes are. Now, I don't see an option for that in this current window because I still haven't opened up the more option here, right? So when you see those arrows, open them up to see more. And here you'll see more of the comparison settings, more of the things that you can compare, right? Headers, footers, text, formatting, comments, all kinds of things. We're going to leave those as they are. And on the left-hand side here, I've got show changes out. You've got character and word. Character is literally per keystroke character, including spaces. Word level has to do more with like the entire word. We're going to leave the word level there. On the right-hand side, you've got 3 options: the original document, which is what we're going to select, the revised document, which would have been the second option here, or a new document in its entirety, right? So for this project, we're going to leave the changes here in the original document. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK to accept that. And you'll notice when I did that, on the left-hand side here now, we see in our document these red lines. The red lines should be an indicator to you that there are tracked changes in this document, right? There are changes between our original document and our revised document. And it's great to see that there are changes, but I like to see these in more detail. So hopefully you'll remember that we can go into the tracking option to see more detail. And right now I've got what's called the simple markup. And the simple markup shows me that there are changes in the document, but it doesn't really explain what those changes are. If I wanted to do a deeper dive, I would click in the drop-down menu here next to simple markup, and I would want to see all of the markup, right? I'm curious. I want to see what those changes are. So I click on the all markup, right? All changes, and it shows me in those same places that have the red lines before. Now it's actually showing me what those changes are. So it looks like I added something here or changed something in the header, which I did in the previous steps. And then on the right-hand side, the revised document had the actual information for the address, the phone number, and the email versus just sort of like the placeholders there. Okay, great. So now I can identify what the changes are. And that's, again, a nice feature of this compare here. You can see what the changes are, right, from both documents. So we're looking at still step number 5. The next part of the step asks me to accept all the changes and then to stop the tracking. So I'm going to accept them all at once and stop tracking, so that that means that Word will no longer keep a track of all the changes I made in the document. Now there's 2 changes here, but imagine if there was 5 or 6 or 10, right? Would I really want to go through each one and make the change? Maybe. But in this case, I'm asked to accept all of them at once and to stop tracking all at once. So I'm going to go over here, still in the changes group. I'm going to click on the accept drop-down menu. So not the button at the top, but the arrow. And I could do it one by one, right? But I want to be more effective and I want to accept all of my changes at once and stop the tracking all at the same time. So I make that selection, and you'll notice that my little red lines there on the left-hand side are gone because I stopped tracking. Okay, so I'm looking at my changes and I'm very happy to see that now I've got my actual information inside of my letterhead, right? So this is going to be something that is more pertinent to me. So I'm going to keep going with my steps here. The next step asks you to use the building blocks organizer to insert the bird banner building block at the left margin of the header if it is no longer in the header area. And it's not, because we accepted the change to get rid of it. Okay, so we'd like to add it back. Luckily, that process is very simple, very streamlined, very efficient once you've created a building block. So I can use here in my header portion, you'll notice that I've got a quick parts option here, but if you didn't remember that, we can go back into the insert menu, which is where you originally created the building block. We go back into our quick parts option and click on the drop down arrow. And what you're going to notice is that the bird banner is right there, right? It's part of your recent gallery items that you just created. So I could have just clicked on it from here to insert it. But I want to show you one more way that you can look at all of the different building blocks that have been created and could be included in this document. So I'll click on Building Blocks Organizer, and as I scroll down, you're going to be, right, in your mind, you're going to say, wow, that's a lot of things that could be inserted. But remember that when we created this, we made it part of the Quick Parts gallery. Now, these galleries happen to be in alphabetical order. Quick Parts queue is all the way at the bottom. So as I go down, it looks like there's really only one, for now, Quick Parts gallery item, which happens to be the bird banner. So I could always, if I click on it, it shows you a preview here. I could always insert it from here directly from the gallery, right? And click on the insert option. And I'll do that now. And it puts it into my header there. But I do want to remind you that you did indeed have it as part of your recent items. So you could have just clicked on there and it would have done the same thing for you. Again, a couple of different ways of doing the same thing. Okay. The next portion tells me to close the header if it's open. So I'm going to just click outside of it to close it out. And it is now closed. I'm on to the next part of the instruction, which is step number 6. Okay. In step number 6, once I've closed my header, it's asking me to click or select the placeholder, your name, at the top left side of the document. All right, so your name happens to be here on the left-hand side, and you'll notice when I click on it, there's a little table selection here, the table mover object that comes up here. That's telling me that this is actually part of a table. And it looks like this is a table that is made up of 2 columns. In this case, I just want the your name cell to be selected, right? The placeholder there. And it tells me to, once you've selected it, to type in Denise Hannah, which is the name of the person for which we are creating this, for whom we are creating this letterhead. We type in Denise Hannah with 2 N's. Okay, got it. Now it's got her name, her address, her phone number, and her email. Done with step number 6. That was easy. Then it tells you in step number 7, so I'm moving forward to step 7, it tells me to point to Denise Hannah and click or select the table move handle in the top left corner of the table. So it's, again, talking about this little table selector icon here. So I select on that. And why am I selecting the entire table and its contents? Because I want to change the style or the design of this table to better fit my brand, right? Because this letterhead represents the brand of Denise Hannah. So it asked me to, and by it I mean the instructions asked me to change the table design to list table 1 light. Now you'll notice that because I selected the table, I now have two beautiful new tabs at the top here, right? If I deselect it, it goes away. Oh, where'd it go? No problem. I'll just select my object again. And now I've got that table design option that comes up. All right, so I'm going to click on the drop down arrow, right? When you see the arrow, it means more. So click on it. And the instructions is asking me to go into the list tables, right? That's the major category. So we've got plain tables, grid tables, list tables. There it is, list tables. And it's asking for the light accent 2. So as I put my mouse over the first option, it says list table 1 light, but it doesn't have an accent color. So I'm going to keep going here. That's accent 1. No, I want accent 2. I go over to the green, list table 1 light accent 2. And that makes sense because green is in line with the brand that we are including here in this designed letterhead. Okay, so I apply that list table 1 light accent 2 style, and now it looks even better, right? It goes more in line again with the design of the rest of the letterhead. Okay, so I've created a building block. I have compared two revisions, 2 files. I've made choices as to how I want my final file to look here. I've included my building block again. I've stylized my table. For your next step, in step number 8, you're going to apply editing restrictions, right? So that you can see what those restrictions look like based on what you can do with the document once you have those restrictions. All right, hope that you have some fun with this project and hope that that was also helpful.